salutations, welcome to this edition of Battle in the Trenches. I'm your host, as always, Jonders. I'm joined by two of my good buddies. First up, we have Steve Catalendo. Steve, how's it going, buddy?
What up, boys? Week 3, ready to go.
Episode 3, yeah. Steve 2.0 on Twitter, as you see on the screen. We also have Ryan McGinley. How's it going, Ryan?
After my first ever auction draft with you as the commissioner, things are looking up from that night because I got way too nervous. Put $45 on Pat Mahomes in a 2 QB league, but oh well, we're recovering, so I'm ready to be.
Yeah, it was also a super late night for you, right? That kind of like 1 year time.
Yeah, I as soon as Lamar Miller was off the board, I went to Betty Buy Land, so we were good.
What a segue! First, we're gonna go into the doctor's office, everybody. All right, in the doctor's office, I know we just mentioned Lamar Miller, but first we will be talking about Andrew Luck, who is kind of doctor's office related here. He's retiring from the NFL. He said that the injuries and rehab have taken all the joy that he has for football. Super sad stuff. But we're here to talk about the fantasy perspective. So first, I would like to talk to you, Ryan. What kind of impact does this have for the Colts in general?
So I already didn't really like Marlon Mack just because I've never really liked his workload. I mean, when he was getting 25 touches in a game, he was an effective RB1. But when he wasn't, he was a fringe RB3. And I'm concerned that they're going to put 8 guys in the box and have Jacoby Brissett beat them. And he's the main guy that I'm concerned about. T.Y. Hilton has already had apparently his best camp to date. And that includes Jacoby Brissett as his quarterback the entire time. I mean, Andrew Luck has not been practicing, so I'm not as concerned about T.Y. I already have him in 2 leagues just because I think he's a value right now. I think he's going mid-4th round, end of the 4th round, so that's a pretty good value for somebody that could go over 1,000 yards. The main guy that I think might actually get a boost might be Eric Ebron. In 2017, Jack Doyle was targeted 105 times by Jacoby Brissett, and he played in 15 games. So I personally think that if Ebron sees 100 targets, he can still be that top 4 or 5 tight end. So I'm not that concerned about him. I mean, overall, the team's going to be worse, but I mean, if they're going to be down in games, the value's still there.
Ryan's moving up the field, 25 yards. Steve, I'm going to turn to you. A lot of people already out there have drafted Andrew Luck. If you're somebody with Andrew Luck on his roster and he was going to be your QB1, you maybe even spend a 5th or a 6th round pick on this guy. What do you do at this point?
Well, obviously you got to drop him unless it's some crazy deep dynasty league with benches that you're just willing to stash him on. Hopefully he comes back. I don't see it happening, but you got to drop him. You got to go straight to the waiver wire first, see who's available. If no one's there, you might have to give up some guys on your team just to trade for a quarterback, which is a position you never want to be in. You never want to trade for a quarterback because you're going to be on the wrong end of that trade. And you're already losing your 5th round pick. You already lost it for Andrew Luck, so you're already out a good player. So if you drafted Andrew Luck early especially, you're in a pretty tough situation. You're going to have to work your way through the waiver wire all year long and try to develop a team that's ready to make a playoff push. I'm glad I'm not in that position.
Yeah, Steve's moving up 25 yards to you. You guys are both at the yard line now. Josh Gordon passed his physical, is off the non-football injury list. How does this impact the players around him? Ryan, I'm going to go to you. So how does this impact Julian Edelman, Tom Brady, players like that?
Yep, so I think that, Julian Edelman's still going to have his between the 20 yards. I mean, like, that's Julian Edelman territory. When they're not in the red zone and they're moving up the field, is Julian Edelman. I think, honestly, Josh Gordon almost moves into the Rob Gronkowski role where he's a big body that they could find in the corner of the end zone. I mean, they love the fade to Gronk, and I think Josh Gordon could easily run a deep fade into the corner. Personally, I'm happy that he's back on the field. I mean, he's obviously focused completely on football, and that's the main goal here. But he's going to be an asset, and he's getting taken real late in drafts. And if you can play him as your flex wide receiver, that's a steal to me. And I think he's going to stretch the field. I think he takes away from Demaryius Thomas, but I didn't really expect too much out of Demaryius. But aside from that, I like him this year.
Ryan's moving up at his own 25. Steve, what I want to know from you is are you drafting Gordon, or is this somebody you have an eye out for, or does this history preclude him from your teams?
All right, so there's right when Josh Gordon was reinstated to the NFL, his ADP was just automatically up there in the 8th round. And now that he's off the NFI, the NFI list, that he is at in the 6th round. He's going ahead of Allen Robinson, Alshon Jeffrey, Robbie Anderson, Jarvis Landry, all pretty credible fantasy options. And for a guy who has not been reliable to stay on the field, if he plays 2 games and he retires again or something like that, or he's not on the team the rest of the year, I wouldn't be surprised one bit. So you're going to pass on guys like Robinson, Jeffrey, or Anderson for this kind of risk? It might be worth it. In the 6th round, it's not that big of a deal. But I know his ADP just shot up. So it's either if you're a Josh Gordon guy or not. It's kind of hard not to be. He's that X receiver. I'll take shots on him in smaller leagues without high stakes, but I won't own him in a lot of spots.
So Allen Robinson's sitting there. Who are you taking, Robinson or Gordon?
I guess it depends on the league, but I'd probably take Robinson.
Okay.
I like his upside. I mean, Gordon's got upside too, but I like Robinson.
All right, both at the 25-yard. This might be a shootout here, boat race. All right, Lamar Miller towards ACL. Ryan, can you speak about? I don't even know. What fantasy are we going to talk about here? They have a terrible offensive line. I don't even know who's playing running back in Houston. Are they going to make a trade for somebody? Tell me something. I don't even know. What?
I mean, honestly, we could find out before this episode's even airing that they've got a new running back. So if you're listening to this and they've got a new running back, I mean, sorry about it. But I think that Jadeveon Clowney might net them some type of running back. I mean, he's interested in 2 teams, the 2 teams that are heavily involved with 6 running backs. I mean, your Seattle Seahawks and my Philadelphia Eagles. Apparently, Bill O'Brien likes Notre Dame players, and there's one on each team. You got CJ Prosise, we've got Josh Adams, so it could be one of those guys. But I mean, Duke Johnson, I personally like him more as a complimentary back. My dream scenario going into this offseason was the Eagles had Jordan Howard and Duke Johnson, but I mean, that's not how it really fell out for us. I think that he'll be a very viable RB2 in PPR leagues, but I don't expect him to be higher than that.
Steve, can you speak more on this?
Yeah, I'm with him on the Duke Johnson thing. I see him as more of a complimentary back. His ADP shot up super high, too. People are taking him in like the 5th round, sometimes the 4th, expecting him to be a workhorse. I've never seen that for a guy like Duke Johnson. I know he's had a couple opportunities to get a lot of the workload on Cleveland when their starting running back was injured or whatnot. But I don't see that for him. I see, if you want to take someone in this backfield and you don't expect a player to get signed, I'd go for a guy like Demaria Crockett or something like that, super late. You're not really expecting big things, but it's a risk, or it's a chance you'll take late on a flyer. But like Ryan said, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a running back by tomorrow, or at the latest like week 3 into the season. So no one you draft is really going to be reliable, including Duke Johnson.
Oh my God! Steve finds the end zone first because Demaria Crockett. I don't know if that's a real person or not, but you're going to get a touchdown for that. I don't know.
I had to write that one down. Would not have pronounced it right. I got the hyphens between the letters and everything.
Doctor's room or doctor's office adjacent. Let's check in, guys. Let's check in on Zeke and Melvin Gordon. I'm going to give Zeke to Ryan. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, so I personally thought he was going to be the more likely of the 2 to sign before the season, but apparently they don't have a new contract offer out to him. It sounds like it's still between Todd Gurley and Lev Bell, which that's not what he's looking for. He's looking to be the highest paid guy. And his buddy that he's been working out with, Marshall Faulk, they just resurfaced where he said that Dak Prescott, if he gets paid, it'll show that he's actually a bum of a quarterback. So there's going to be a little bit of a rift there, and I don't like that. So I think this could last till week 3 or 4. I mean, I don't really like drafting him as your 4th guy.
Ryan finds the end zone, everybody. Let's celebrate for Ryan. Hey, so we already talked about Zeke. Now Melvin Gordon. What's going on there, Steve?
A lot of stuff on Twitter. There was like a non-credible source that got, that broke the story that Melvin Gordon might be back week 1, or there's a good chance he will be. And then Melvin Gordon, I saw like in someone's Instagram DMs that he said false. And now I'm seeing a report on Twitter from an actual beat writer for the Chargers that he has a hunch that he'll be back for week 1. So I don't know what to believe, but you certainly feel a little better about it, and maybe a little more respect should be given to Melvin Gordon in his draft position, which I've seen go very late, in the 5th round in some spots. For a guy that could be an RB1, a top-tier running back on your team, I think we should be moving him up draft boards, back up maybe to the 3rd round, and the risk is not so big anymore.
Let's move on. We have ADP risers and fallers. All right, here we go. Let's start off with Steve. Steve, who do you have on the upswing here?
The upswing, late round flyer, but getting a lot of hype nowadays because of Hard Knocks. Tight end for the Raiders, Darren Waller. Big body frame, 6'6". He's got a 4.46 40 speed. He's been in the league for a few years. I think he was a wide receiver on the Ravens. Didn't get a lot of work, but now he's over on the Raiders. Jared Cook's gone. He's not gonna get Jared Cook, snap or targets and whatnot because they have Antonio Brown now. But I think they're looking to replace what Jared Cook did last year in some way, shape, or form. And Darren Waller's been on 100% of the snaps for the first team offense throughout the preseason, so I like that. And you're hearing nothing but positive things from him in training camp, and all over Hard Knocks you see it. So I'll take a flyer on him as my tight end 2 in a deep league, maybe my tight end 1. But I'll take a flyer, and then if he can return top 10 tight end value, and I get him late in the drafts, that's going to be great.
Darren Waller, feel good story. You know, feels good. Steve, moving up the field, 25 yards. Ryan, who's your riser?
So my riser is quickly moving back into the position where he's supposed to be, and that's Sony Michel. For some odd reason this offseason, I mean, aside from a couple injuries, Sony Michel is getting dropped down in ADP just because they expected Damian Harris to be a better running back. But they're saying that he's going to be used early and often in that Patriots offense, especially with the re-addition of Josh Gordon. The top will be taken off, so there'll be less guys in the box for more of a plotting back of Sony Michel. So I expect him to be used a lot more. And Damian Harris, on a couple runs, he's looked slow. I mean, he's looked not good to me. And I think that Sony Michel should go over 1,000 yards.
Ryan's moving up the field. He's at the 50-yard line. Steve, let's skew negative here. Who's falling?
Not just one player, but all of the Buccaneers running backs.
Oh, wow.
Dare Ogunbowale, I don't even know how to say it, but he continues to see a lot of work in the preseason along with Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones. Here's a fun stat. None of those running backs have averaged more than 3.3 yards a carry in any game this preseason. Now, if they've got 5 snaps or 10 snaps or whatever.
That doesn't sound very fun to me. That's
bad. And if you watch that last preseason game, that O-line was bad. They got Jameis Winston sacked 5 or 6 times. Now, I don't know if they were all his fault, but it certainly did not help. So I don't like that at all. And maybe this Arians offense is fool's gold. Maybe people are seeing Arians is there. They like what he did with the Cardinals when they had a really good season a few years ago with David Johnson and Carson Palmer and Larry Fitz. But things are different. Jameis might just not be that guy. I'm just trying to stay away from those running backs. They haven't had a good running back since Doug Martin, like a while ago when he had that breakout season.
He was on 1 year, off 1 year. Steve, you lost me when you said fun fact, and then the fact was very depressing. But then once you said that Bruce Arians was fool's gold, you got me back. You're in for the end zone. You got a touchdown, baby. All right.
Touchdown.
Hey, Ryan, let's skew negative with you, baby boy. Who's falling out?
Listen, so it's negative for whoever wants this player, but it's a positive for you, Jonders. And that is Rashad Penny.
You know the way to my heart.
I know. I got to pander because Steve's in the end zone. Rashad Penny is dropping down boards because he had all the opportunity in the world to take carries from Chris Carson. But Chris Carson is rumored to get 50 catches this year. He's going to be the main back. He's improving his pass blocking. Where Rashad Penny has not been good this preseason. And, I mean, they're expecting to kind of ease him back in like they did last year. So I fire up Chris Carson, and I only take Rashad Penny if he's still there super late, and I already have Chris Carson, so that's what I would do there.
Handcuff, maybe a little foreshadowing until later. Unofficial rule in this game. You talk up Chris Carson, you're going to move down the field. So Ryan's at the 25-yard line now. Bonus round, top 5 valuable handcuffs. Oh, look, we're already here. So let's talk about some handcuffs, guys. Steve, you're going first. Who's your favorite handcuff? Is that a handcuff motion, guys? Or is that a handcuff?
I'll take that.
All right, that's handcuff. I can't break free.
All right, handcuffs. All right, my top 5 handcuffs are Jalen
I'm cutting you off,
Samuel.
Steve. Has anybody ever done that for like NFL Network or something? Like actually handcuff 2 running backs? Can we do that? Hey, Rich Eisen, I'm gonna call him. He's in my phone book.
That could be our thing.
He's in my phone book. I'll call him. All right, Steve. I'm sorry. Make your point.
I'll just start off with the top. My top running back handcuff to own is Jalen Samuels for the Pittsburgh Steelers. When James Conner was injured last year, I like when Samuels came in. He was able to get a lot of work out of the backfield. They brought in as a tight end coach, a coach from NC State, correct? One of Jalen Samuels' old coach. So I like him to get a lot more standalone value. But if Conner was able to go down, I like him a lot this year. And we know the Steelers. I know they drafted Benny Snell, but they don't like a committee really at all. So I like if James Conner goes down, that Jalen Samuels is going to get a lot of work. Some of the other guys I like, Darwin Thompson, Alex Madison, Tony Pollard, and Justice Hill. I can see me and Ryan took a slightly different approach with this one. So these are guys that don't have much standalone value in the league, and then he's going to kind of talk about some other guys who have standalone value as well.
Before I decide whether or not you move down to the 50-yard line, Steve, do you believe me when I say Rich Eisen's in my phone book?
Yes.
All right, well, not only does that move you down to the 50, it's also correct. Just a brag, he's in the phone, so, whatever. So,
Phone wasn't on.
I'm not going to show you his number. All right. Ryan, you're doing things a little bit differently. Explain what you're doing.
Yep. So, Steve approaching more of the young guy that could step into a role if the main guy gets hurt. Where I've got more of the guys that are more of the traditional handcuffs that you draft still as like 10th, 11th round guys that have standalone value. And my seemingly obvious answer to the way I approach this question was Latavius Murray. I think Latavius Murray immediately steps into that Mark Ingram role. He might not be as effective as Mark Ingram, but the fact that he steps into a role that scored touchdowns, that had wide open runs for a guy that can make those runs, I mean, he seems like a slam dunk handcuff for me. Especially since Alvin Kamara is more of a slender guy. You need to have Latavius Murray if you've got Alvin Kamara. So he's my main guy that I need on my team if I've got Alvin Kamara. My other guys, I've got Kalen Ballage, I've got Darrell Henderson, I got Royce Freeman, and I have Raquel Armstead. Armstead is more of the way Steve approached it, but I need him on my team even if I don't have Leonard Fournette, because we know that Leonard Fournette is a soft tissue injury most seasons. So if you get Leonard Fournette's handcuff, you might have an RB1 or RB2 every single week.
Oh, wow, yeah. Hey, Ryan finds the end zone. 14-14.
Touchdown.
All, everybody. We're going to move on. Best and worst fantasy schedules for a player to start the season. All right. And, Ryan, I'm going to go back to you for this right now. What player are you looking at that has a great schedule to start the season off?
Yeah, so I went with the first 5 games, and my first guy is Odell Beckham Jr. So he's got a bad Titans team week 1. And then, you know where he goes the week after? He goes back to the Meadowlands, where he knows the field, and he plays a bad Jets team. I love that. And then they host the Rams in what should be a pretty big shootout of a game. So I love the fantasy opportunity there. Then they have the Ravens, which is the toughest game of these 5, and then they go to San Francisco. So I love the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. realistically could be wide receiver 1 after the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, the Ravens game's tough. They might have the best secondary in the NFL. But why did you leave out the 6th game?
Because I can only count to 5.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure they play Seattle in the 6 games. That's game.
I think they did too.
Yeah. So you're moving up the field. You're at the 50. You guys are both at the 50, so things are tied up now. I'll let you guys know this. Rich Eisen, the last number in his phone number, it's a 2. So do that with what you will.
I'm gonna start guessing.
So start guessing now, Steve. Who's your player to have the best schedule to start the season? Best fantasy schedule to start the season?
Yeah, I'm breaking the rules here again. I'm going with another just team and group of players. But I'm going with the Baltimore rushing attack. Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Justice Hill, all those guys. First 4 games.
Wait, whoa. What about the Gus Bus?
Gus Bus, great. He helped me out
Edwards?
last year.
Well, no, you're just leaving out the Gus Bus. All right.
Oh, wait.
No, go.
Rewind.
All right.
Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. All right, so those guys, first 4 games. Dolphins, Cardinals, Chiefs, Browns. I don't think those are all the best defensive fronts. I just know it's not. They have the best rushing attack all season, actually, or favorable schedule. And when their team might break the record for most rushing plays in a season. When last year they were a 48 rush, 52 pass split. And that was with Lamar Jackson only starting like 6 or 7 games. So imagine all season. I know there were some reports saying that he's going to pass like 30 times this year, per game this year.
30 times this year.
Yeah, only 30 times. He's going to rush every other ball. But I think they have a chance to, really run the ball a lot. And they, like I said, they have a really favorable schedule, especially to start the season. So I'm actually grabbing a lot more Mark Ingram than I expected to this year recently once I saw that stat about their schedule. So Baltimore rushing attack.
Get on the Gus Bus. Moves down to the 25-yard line. Ryan, we're going to go to you for least favorable starting schedule for fantasy player.
Mm-hmm. So my guy for least favorable is Le'Veon Bell, which I don't like to say because I'm a big Bell fan, but he missed the season, so he's going to be getting back into full game speed after a full year to start this year. And he starts with the Buffalo Bills, which I don't like even a little bit. They then play the Browns. They're at New England, and then they have their bye week 4. Exactly. They have their bye already in week 4. So that, regardless, that's a terrible start. And then they come to Philadelphia in week 5. So I hate the start of his season. And honestly, if somebody's sick of Le'Veon Bell in week 5, jump on him, because his schedule becomes extremely easier as the season goes on.
Ryan moves down to the 25-yard line. That's the point I wanted you to hit, that be out and make trade offers at 3 a.m. in the morning to your friends after week 5 for LaBelle. Steve, who has the least favorable starting schedule for a player in your opinion?
This time I'll pick a player, but let me just say, the Packers in the NFC North have the worst schedule this year. It is horrible. They have to play the AFC West and the rest of the NFC North twice. That's tough, but I'm taking Aaron Jones, running back for the Packers. Get a load of this. First 5 games. Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, Denver Broncos, Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys. Wow. That might be the worst start I could ever hear against those defensive fronts, going against the Bears, the Vikings, the Eagles, the best defensive front in the league. Like, that is just insane.
I'm not the host, Steve.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I mean, just put it like that. We're talking about the beginning of the schedule. They have to play the Bears and the Vikings again, and throw in the Chargers. Wow, that might be rough. Like, unless the Packers come out hot and score right away, I don't know if their ground game, they're going to be able to get that established a lot. So I'm pretty nervous about that. I love Jones. Like I said, I'm a Packers fan, but their schedule is no lie.
Steve finds the end zone, maybe unlike Aaron Jones in the first quarter of the season there. So it's 21-14. We're going to move on to my favorite part of the show, because I love hearing from the fans. I love hearing from you guys. This is Twitter questions. All right, the rules are a little bit different in the Twitter round. What am I trying to say? So you'll move 50 yards down the field instead of the 25 yards down the field. But let's get this going. First, we're going to go to Ryan. Which rookie quarterback has the best fantasy season this year? And that's at Boats Knows. Noah's? I don't know.
But
I just said I love the fans, and I'm like, screw that guy.
Your Boats Knows. Yeah, it's Kyler. I mean, he's got the ability to run, and I don't think that they're going to be up in many games. So he's going to be launching, he's going to be taking off, and honestly, the position guys around him, they're not bad. I mean, I don't hate their wide receiving core. I mean, David Johnson's a freak, and those guys should be able to make plays for him, and plus the ability for him to run. He should be, a top 12 QB all said and done this year, so I think it's got to be Kyler Murray.
That was not the right answer. Steve.
What do you mean?
Confidence level on drafting Zeke, or I don't know. It wasn't. I could have been
the right answer.
I don't know. I could have been convinced on a few people, like Patrick Mahomes or Drew Brees or Russell Wilson, or maybe if he had a compelling argument for his
QB.
Boy. What? Oh, rookie could be. Oh. Oh, you know what? No, wait. Yeah, Ryan finds the end zone. Ryan finds the end zone.
There was only 3 options.
All right, 21-21. Oh, I'm sorry.
That was like Haskins, Jones, or Murray.
Oh man, I panicked. I couldn't name one. So
I can read things without hearing what I'm saying. That's a skill I have now. All right,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So it's 21-21 all. We're moving on to Steve. Confidence level of drafting Zeke or Gordon as your RB1 at it's Dame ZO. Hey, people with the questions, get some normal names. I'll read them. Just calm down on the name. Steve, please tell me about Zeke or Gordon on your confidence level, taking them RB1.
We kind of touched on these guys a little earlier. The confidence is growing. I mean, I know Zeke isn't there yet with the contract, but at least there was an offer, it seems, and I'm really upset that he won't accept that offer. But later in the first round, I'm a little more confident taking him. He was slipping into the second some drafts, so that's kind of crazy. Melvin Gordon, and like I said earlier, with all these talks, there's a chance that he might be there week 1. And if there's a chance, if I can get him in the second or in the third round, my RB1, I mean, I might be able to go wide receiver, and get an actual RB1 in the third round. So confidence is growing. I'm not there yet at a really high confidence level, but they're growing.
When Steve touches guys earlier, his confidence is growing. All right. So that's a 28-21 game. Steve finds the end zone. Now we're talking to Ryan about. So here's a question from @Greats to Fall. Is Nick Chubb worth a first-round pick? That's a pretty clear-cut question, Ryan. Is Nick Chubb worth a first-round pick?
Yeah, yes, he is. In my personal opinion, he is. But it's with a stipulation. You need to make sure that for the playoff push, you have at least another guy you can put in there. Because Nick Chubb will get every single touch for the first 10 weeks, right? He's an elite running back. But the thing is, the Cleveland Browns don't care about your fantasy football team, and they want to see what Kareem Hunt has for the last 6 weeks. So Kareem Hunt's going to get plenty of touches down the stretch, right in the middle of your fantasy playoff run. So you need to make sure that you get a nice playoff spot when you have Nick Chubb, but you need to make sure that you can slot somebody in there as another RB1, maybe bump Chubb down to an RB2 towards the end of the year. So I think he's definitely worth the pick, especially with how thin running backs are this year.
We have a shootout going, ladies and gentlemen. 28-28 all. All right, so Steve, will Lamar Jackson finish as a top 10 quarterback? And this is from @RavensRule28.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of love for him is growing, especially people are realizing that if Lamar Jackson runs the ball as much as people expect, just the running alone, gives him a chance to be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. I like Lamar Jackson a lot. I think top 10 is no doubt. If he could stay healthy is the issue. If he runs a lot, he's going to be taking a lot more hits. He's not like a huge guy. So we'll see how they manage that. I'm guessing that's kind of why they came out and said he's going to throw 30 times a game. But I don't see that happening. I think they're going to run a lot. I think they're going to continue to use him a lot. He's their best weapon and mix him with Mark Ingram. I think the offense is going to be potent. I think they're going to definitely be up there with the Browns and the Steelers. Can't forget about the Steelers in the AFC North.
Hey, who would forget about the Steelers? All right, so it's a 35-28 game. Steve is just on the end zone. This next question, I don't have a real opinion on, so it's up to Ryan to tie this game and force it to overtime. So here we go. This is from @KeithOlson4. Aaron Jones or Fournette? Question mark. I think he's talking about Leo Fournette, but I really don't have an opinion on this. So Ryan, the ball game is yours. So win or tie here, or to tie or lose.
Oh man, that's a brutal question. I mean, personally, I think Aaron Jones is a better running back, and I can trust Aaron Jones playing more frequently than Leonard Fournette. The problem is, Steve just busted out that schedule, and it sounds terrible. I think that Leonard Fournette, if he plays all 16 games, scores more points than Aaron Jones. So I don't. You know what?
You got to throw that contingency in there because that's the thing. You don't know if he's going to play. If you knew he was going to play, it'd be no-brainer Leonard Fournette after hearing that schedule.
Exactly.
All right, guys. This is what we're going to do. Ryan just tied it. It's 35.
Touchdown.
Whoever can guess the closest number so the third number in Rich Eisen's phone number. Okay,
guys? Really doing this?
The third closest number in Rich Eisen's phone number. So Ryan, you say number, and Steve, you say number. Whoever's the closest to the third number in Rich Eisen's phone number wins.
I'm gonna go 4.
All right, Steve.
5. I don't.
Steve wins. Steve wins, baby. The first ever win in Battle of the Trenches. Steve wins. Steve, do you have a victory speech or anything?
I don't want. I want to say it doesn't feel great to win that way, but it just feels so great to win. So I just can't even.
All right, guys. Keep everything on Climb the Pocket. We have a new feature with polls or something. I don't know what's going on. Go check that out. ClimbThePocket.com. @ClimbThePocket on Twitter. @BootlegFantasy. @Steve 2.0. @JondersFBT. And get home safe, everybody. Bye.